in one corner, weighing in on the wonderful absurdity of masked wrestling superhero spies and over-the-top campy tropes. Hailing originally from Southern California and now dwelling in Nashville, Tennessee, wearing an orange mask with a graying skunk-striped beard, Luchador Gringo! And in the other corner, weighing in on wrestling werewolves, violent vampires, and karate-chopping killer robots, from St. Paul, Minnesota, wearing a white mask and black hat with a pearly beard of ivory, El Mayo! Get ready for Luchador Gringo and El Mayo, a Lucha Libre Cinema Podcast.
Hola, Michael. How are you?
Hola. What was your Spanish name in Spanish class in high school?
Oh, probably Danielle.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I was Miguelito, my first year because I was an underclassman and there was an upperclassman in our class who was also Mike. And so he got to be Miguel. I had to be Miguelito. But then when he graduated, then I got to be Miguel.
I think I'm just going to call you Miguelito because just knowing the, if for those of you who haven't not seen Michael in real life,
there's nothing Ito about me.
No, he's a statuesque man of, and it's kind of like, calling, like Little John.
Right. Yeah. That's good. That's a good comparison. He's one of my heroes, so I will absolutely take it.
All right. Before we get on to this episode's movie, which was Huracán Ramírez, and just want to get some business. We didn't really take care of business last time, so I just want to let people know who are listening that. First off, let me apologize for the length of in between episodes. Life just got busy and hectic, but I think Miguelito and I have established a regular schedule, so we're going to hopefully be coming at you every other week, right?
Yeah, knock on wood.
Knock on wood. I mean, I'm sure something will happen, but we're going to try to stick to, because we got like 150 plus of these movies to get through.
No messing around, man.
So,
we can't.
So we need to get on schedule. So anyway, thank you for joining us for episode 2, and hopefully in about 2 weeks you'll hear episode 3. I'll fill you in on what that movie's going to be, and Michael doesn't even know yet.
Mm-mm.
All right. So first off, we are on social media. Other than, Michael and I and myself having our own accounts, you can follow Luchador Gringo, all one word, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So just go ahead and plug that in. And I try to post fun things like movie poster art and other reviews. We're going to get some book reviews, comic reviews, other luchador genre type related stuff on there. There's a YouTube channel that is steadily growing a library of luchador movies with English subtitles. Hence Luchador, or hence Gringo. So there are about 7 movies right now, 7 luchador movies, all with English subtitles of various quality, just because these movies are kind of hard to track down, especially if you're looking for subtitles. So go to Luchador Gringo on YouTube and you start watching them, and we're going to try to post as many as we can that we review here on the podcast on the YouTube channel, but we can't do it with everything because of licensing and copyright on some of them, like this week's movie being one of them. Mm. And also Luchador Gringo and El Mayo, a Lucha Libre Cinema Podcast, is available on almost all podcast providers right now. Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Player FM, etc. All of them but Pandora. Pandora doesn't like us for some reason yet.
Blech.
Yeah,
Pandora.
They'll come around it. Come around us.
I shouldn't say anything bad about them yet.
Yeah, wait till they get us on there.
Okay.
So this week's movie, to be honest with you, I am glad that we're reviewing it early in our pseudo career of luchador movie reviewers, because it's pretty much unlike any other luchador movies that we will be talking about in the future. And this movie is Huracán Ramírez, and it came out in 1952, 1953, depending on your, the source of your material and where you're getting your information. And first off, right out of the bat, I absolutely adore this movie. How about you, Michael?
I like it a lot. I like it differently from the previous movie because it is so different from the previous movie. It's almost hard to compare, but I'm not going to say I adore it wholeheartedly. I think, I have some criticisms, but I thought it was very sweet and very funny, and just a really surprising revelation of what this genre is capable of.
This was one of the earlier luchador films, actually. It was before Santo made his appearance on film. And in fact, the director of this movie directed Santo's first movie.
Okay.
And there are no monsters, no robots, no mummies, no mad scientists, no zombies, no death beams, no mind control, no... None of the elements that hooked Michael and I into luchador movies to begin with, I think. It's got wrestlers and they wear masks.
Mm-hmm.
That's about where the similarities end with other luchador movies, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like a 30s musical romantic comedy, but made in the 50s with luchadors.
Yeah, exactly. And now, from my experience in the last film that we saw, luchador movies tend to have musical numbers in them, but they made sense in this movie.
Yeah, like one of the main character, Huracán Ramírez, is I guess luchador by night, or maybe, I don't know, maybe by day he's a luchador, and by night he's a nightclub singer.
Yeah, he's very Ricky Ricardo-esque from I Love Lucy type of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't believe he owns that club, but he is
right.
a nightclub singer. Fernando Torres is the character's name.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie is weird because when it starts off, like the spotlight hits him and he starts singing and you're like, oh, did I put the wrong movie in? Am I watching the wrong movie? But it makes sense because the character's rehearsing a musical number.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it was a good introduction, I think, to get one of the music numbers out of the way, and B, it sort of sets up, I don't know, it sort of kind of gives you a hint of what the movie's going to be about if you read what the lyrics are about.
Interesting. Okay, so I know the lyrics were included in the subtitles. I don't recall specifically what they were about, but just the tone of the scene certainly sets up the film. It is like, first of all, guy's got a great voice, and it is a very romantic number. The setting is romantic. He's like the headliner at this club. It's a very snazzy, 30s and 40s nightclub kind of, a lot of people like getting up and dancing. The tables like kind of around the dance floor area, where people are eating and they'll get up and dance and the orchestra's playing the whole time. And then you have, singers come out. And, so yeah, it's just that feel, man. It's like that old time Hollywood feel.
And it's very, I mean, unlike, let's say the quality of the last film that we watched, this is, and it's 1952, 53. It's lit very classic. It's black and white. It's just got that charm to it. And even when they're at the main character's home, I mean, you could tell it's a stage because they've got these huge, cavernous living room like the Brady Bunch had. With stairs leading upstairs, stairs leading up to the second floor, etc. But it almost comes off as if you could be watching it as a live production on a theatrical stage, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you mentioned the home set, and, these characters, this family is not supposed to be well off. They're supposed to be having some financial problems, but man, their house is humongous.
Yeah.
It's like a mansion, at least size wise. It's not like, the design of it is not very luxurious necessarily, but
Right.
the size of it certainly is.
Yeah. Okay. Now the film follows the story of Fernando Torres, who's a young gentleman who, as you mentioned and we alluded to, is following in his father's footsteps by being this, masked luchador, Huracán Ramírez, but his father, who is also a wrestler, towards the end of his career, despises Huracán Ramírez, but is unaware that Fernando Torres, his son, is Huracán Ramírez.
Right.
In fact, he thinks his son's going to school the whole time.
Yeah, well, I think he finds out fairly early that his son has dropped out of school.
Right.
But he thinks that his son has just dropped out of school to be a nightclub singer, basically. And he's upset with his son about that. He's also upset with Huracán Ramírez for kind of like stealing his thunder, because Dad still is like a very popular wrestler kind of at the end of his career. Like he's mostly popular with the kids, like younger kids. He's not masked, the father. Like he's just,
right.
He's straight up wrestler. And, so I think he's a little bit resentful of Huracán Ramírez. He's upset with his son for not, taking advantage of his educational opportunities. But the son makes it very clear that look, we need the money. Like we can't be spending all this money on my education. I've got to be helping to provide for the family. And
his son has actually been bribing other wrestlers who wrestle his father to go easy on him. This movie has a lot of subplots, but they're not confusing, and they sort of work well with each other, I think.
They all relate to each other. They're all connected.
And, and so not only does Fernando have this going on, okay, he's wrestling, and then every other night he's performing at the nightclub. He's hiding the fact that he dropped out of school from his father, who's an aging wrestler that he is bribing other wrestlers not to beat up in the ring. And Fernando also, there's more subplots here.
Yeah.
Has a former Flame, Gloria, who's another performer at the nightclub, who he pretty much breaks up with her at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% clear on, like, is he breaking up with her for the first time? Is he kind of reminding her that they are broken up? Because he has been dating this woman who she's a server at a diner, but she also, I don't think she owns that diner.
From what I've read, Laura runs the diner.
Okay, she definitely runs it. Yeah. I don't know if she's like running it for somebody else or if it's her.
Like my first viewing, I thought that this family owned that diner too.
Okay.
But I don't think that's the case.
No, I don't think so either. But anyway, he's got this relationship going on with her, and I really like their relationship. So like I was a little bit miffed at him for even kind of. It seems like maybe those relationships overlap a little bit where I would prefer that they don't. So that's like part of what makes me like not love his character, which makes me not completely adore the whole movie. But, cause I don't know, his attitudes are, I guess they're of the time, but he's just, kind of a mind your business woman kind of attitude about whenever is it Laura? Is that the waitress's name? Yeah. Whenever she kind of deigns to criticize him or suggest that maybe he's not acting right, he kind of gets huffy about it and, tries to put her in her place, which I'm not crazy about.
Well, I could see him getting that from his father. Who's played by Tonina Jackson, and I think his character name is Tonina Jackson as well, and who is a very lovable character and a very lovable. I just like him as I like the character and I like the actor. Lovable is a great word for it. He's also very kind of closed-minded especially about his son. And just about, his ideas, anybody who,
Especially, I guess, with his son, because his daughter has him wrapped around her little finger.
Yeah, he has 2 daughters. Fernando has 2 sisters. And the oldest one's about 16 and the younger one's about 8.
Mm-hmm,
and it's the younger one who is the kind of the matriarch of the family.
She runs that house, man.
Yeah. Titina Romay, who plays, I can't remember her character's name, but she's very precocious and very bossy.
Yeah.
And I love that first scene where we meet her and the father, and he's trying to eat, before a wrestling match, and she will have none of it.
No.
Because the father is a very portly character.
Yeah, yeah.
When he reminded this whole element of the son and the father and the sport lifestyle and life that they live, being in or being a lucha libre, and the mask involved. It reminded me, and the portly father kind of reminded me of Speed Racer.
Okay.
How the father doesn't want Speed to be a racer because his other son, got in a fight because his older son Rex, who later becomes, Racer X, but of course is hidden by a mask.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, that didn't dawn on me the first time I watched it. It dawned on me much later, not even while I was watching it, but like this, I've been thinking about this movie a lot for the last 2 weeks. I'm like, hey,
I like that.
It kind of reminds me of Speed Racer, which I love the original, anime Speed Racer series.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then so Fernando's got all this going on. So when he's trying to, eventually, the father finds out that Fernando is singing, but he doesn't know that he's wrestling.
Right.
And he wants to face, Hurricane Ramirez, but Hurricane Ramirez keeps giving him the brush off.
Uh-huh.
Because, of course, he doesn't want to fight his own father.
It's like Mr. T and Rocky Balboa.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And this movie is very Rocky-esque, too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In a sense. But so, that is probably the main plot, the main drama of it is the father-son relationship. But the main villain is the old girlfriend, I think. And she is pardon my French, a bitch with claws out.
She's a piece of work, man. Like, she not only wants to get in between or get back at him I guess most of her motivation seems to be to get back at him for breaking up.
Yeah.
But she also she has connections with other wrestlers who may or may not be connected to the mob. I'm not quite sure how all of that works. But none of them wish Fernando any good or Hurricane Ramirez any good. They're all very happy to beat up whoever she points them at and says, beat that person up. Okay, yeah, we'll do it.
And then there's the aspect of Fernando's oldest sister, who is in love with Hurricane Ramirez, though she's never seen him without his mask on.
She's a fan, but like a teenage girl fan. She's in love with him. Like the way teenage girls were in love with the Beatles.
Yes, her name's Kata, and she's infatuated with him.
Yeah.
But Fernando's buddy, Peachy.
Uh-huh.
He's kind of the dumb character, the Gilligan of the movie.
Yeah.
What was the name of Michael and I reviewed Plan 9 from Outer Space? Not Plan 9 from Outer Space. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians a while back, last holiday season. And what was the name of that bumbling character?
Oh man.
Zebo or something.
Yeah, I want to say Pogo, but that's not right either. But something.
A very goofy kind of guy who's in love with Kata Torres.
Yeah, and he's like a skinny high school student, or maybe just out of high school. Not so it's inappropriate.
No, yeah.
He's interested in Kata, but yeah, he's kind of so goofy, kind of geeky guy, but also friends with Fernando and kind of in on Fernando's secret.
So between, the Peachy and Kata would kind of maybe romance and Kata being interested in Hurricane Ramirez, but then Fernando's got the new girlfriend Laura, but then there's the old girlfriend Gloria. It's got that very 30s, romantic comedy type feel.
Yeah, it does. Like the romantic comedy part reminds me a lot of like the Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers kinds of movies where you have like all these characters and all these different romantic triangles that kind of overlap in these fun ways. Like you said, like you have the Fernando, Laura, Gloria triangle, but then you also have the, struggle with these names, remembering all the names, Peachy and Kata and Hurricane Ramirez triangle, but then, it's complicated because Fernando and Hurricane Ramirez are the same person. And then Peachy pretends to be Hurricane Ramirez.
Yeah. And then Fernando pretends to be Hurricane's manager.
Mm-hmm.
But it's him when he's it's Fernando when he's in the ring.
Right.
But it's not the actor David Silva wrestling, and we'll cover who wrestles later, but on the production side. So you've got that. So, and then they're spying. The two sisters are spying on Hector, on Hurricane Ramirez, and they discover that Peachy is the man behind the mask. So then Kata's interested in him.
Right.
But then, and then it's just, but the whole movie towards, comes down. I mean, it ends up Hurricane and his father face each other in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gloria's plan backfires, or there's a tag team type situation going on, and it's all that, and spoiler alert, Hurricane Ramirez is unmasked at the end, and his father, Senor Torres, Tonina Jackson, sees that it's his son, and then I guess think they're okay, just because they fought side by side, and he realized and there's also a point where Hurricane Ramirez saved Senor Torres, his father, from the thugs that kidnapped him.
Yeah.
Because Gloria was going to get another wrestler in there, so all three wrestlers beat up on Hurricane to perhaps kill him in the ring.
Right.
Yeah. This movie has so many. It's a puzzle with so many moving parts.
But it's never confusing.
No.
But a lot going on, and because like Senor Torres and Hurricane Ramirez, like their relationship kind of is a little bit of a roller coaster because at the beginning of the movie, Senor Torres is very resentful of Hurricane Ramirez's like youth and popularity and stuff. But then at some point, I think Hurricane Ramirez, before Senor Torres realizes who he is, like Hurricane Ramirez, like kind of, I forget exactly how it worked out, but he basically like supported Senor Torres, or kind of defended him or something. And so it was like, okay, you're okay. But then later on they were still going to wrestle each other, and there was still kind of like a rivalry there, but maybe it was a little more friendly than it was before, but still a rivalry. But then,
I mean, they did all. I mean, Blue Demon and El Santo had a rivalry in the ring, but were best of friends outside the ring. Right.
So it was a little bit of that. It just, like you said, a lot of moving pieces, but that just makes the movie interesting and I guess never slow. Like this movie,
never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. And then at one point, Peachy's drunk, fighting as Hurricane Ramirez at a bar.
Yeah. Because he likes the attention of being Hurricane Ramirez, and he also likes that he knows that Kata likes him because she thinks that he's Hurricane Ramirez.
But let's go back to the youngest daughter.
Okay.
Margarita.
Yeah.
I mean, I love how when we first introduced her and we talked about how she's dealing with her father, acting very much in the motherly role, and she does the same with her older sister. She doesn't do that so much with Fernando, and how she's such a strong character. She may be the strongest character in the entire movie.
I wouldn't disagree.
but to me, it didn't come off as campy at all.
Mm-mm.
It just worked.
She's super cute, super, like, just tons of personality.
She was nominated for some sort of acting award for that role.
Okay.
And deservingly so. And I love, the final shot of the movie is her hugging her father. And Hurricane Ramirez isn't in it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the ring announcer, or the call by call guy of the wrestling match, says, and now he's hugging a little girl, in the crowd, and aren't children special? And that's the last words of the movie.
Yeah.
And if you look back at the whole movie, what Fernando was trying to do for his father, his child, that sums up the whole movie right there.
Yeah.
And I like how that played out. I mean, I never thought I would see, honestly, when I fell in love with these luchador movies, it was because of, like, we've talked about the campy mummies with ray guns and that mind control type stuff. But this movie had so many different layers to it, and just so many, just the way it sums it up in that nice, easy, simple thing, as with the announcer who's almost like the narrator. I mean, in a way, and I'm probably, you may say I'm way off base on this, but it's kind of like one of those complicated Shakespeare plays. With the triangles and the people in disguise and
I'm hearing you.
Father-son, relationship, and it's very Shakespearean, I think.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, a lot of confused identities and people in disguise, and yeah.
Now
I'm picking you up.
Okay, now this film was made. Let's do a little behind the scenes stuff. This is one thing that sets this off from other luchador movies, other than the ray gun, mind controlling mummies from outer space and vampire women type of stuff, is that this was like the first movie, I believe, and maybe like one of the few movies, if not the only movie or movie series that spawned 4 or 5 sequels, I think.
Mm.
That it was a fictional wrestler for the character, not an actual wrestler who they made a movie for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, it's a fictitious character, and this, the storyline focused more on dramatic subplots and, of course, the comedy. And David Silva, who portrayed Fernando, does not do the wrestling at all in this. He's just the face of the actor, the character. The wrestling was done by real-life wrestler Eduardo Bonata, who was contracted to wrestle as Hurricane Ramirez after the films were released, but he grew tired. It was just a gimmick, and he didn't because he thought he was too good looking to be wearing a mask. He went on to star in other, genre type movies. So he was replaced by a luchador named Daniel Garcia, who really popularized the character of Hurricane Ramirez and continued to wrestleize as that character, Hurricane Ramirez, as an actual luchador wrestler until like the late 80s, I think.
Okay.
So that is a movie that created a wrestler rather than a movie being created for a wrestler, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
And it spawned 5 sequels. The Mystery of Hurricane Ramirez, The Son of Hurricane Ramirez, The Vengeance of Hurricane Ramirez, which was the first in the series that actually featured monsters and mad scientist elements.
Okay.
And then there's Hurricane Ramirez and the Black Nun, which is about 1972. And then there's Of Chicana Blood, which is like a 73 anti-dope movie.
All right.
And I think David Silva plays Fernando Torres in the first 3 movies. And then the actor, because the first sequel didn't follow until 1962. It was 10 years later.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he's getting up in age,
Yeah.
and people just went by. So I think, another person takes on the mantle of Hurricane Ramirez. But I believe, Tonina Jackson is in all of them, whose nickname was Cara de Nino, Babyface.
I can see it.
And Titina Romay, who played, Margarita, is in all of them too. So she's like 18 by the time the second one comes out.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so I haven't seen any of those others. We're definitely going to watch them.
Nice.
Just to see, because I am very invested in the Torres family and the mystique of Hurricane Ramirez.
Yeah.
Now, and 52, 53, like I said, this movie to me comes off very much as a Hollywood production of the time. And I did a little research saying, okay, what actors of that time were about the same age as the actor David Silva was when they made this movie. And I came up with about 4 or 5 names. I'm going to run these by you real quick. And I can see, imagine David Silva being replaced by one of these actors. And he's playing Fernando Torres. First is William Holden, star of Sunset Boulevard, Stalag 17, which won Best Actor, Sabrina, later on in his career, Bridge on the River Kwai.
Yeah.
William Holden, very much leading man material, which I think David Silva very much was as well. What do you think?
Well, David Silva definitely is. And William Holden, I mean, clearly he was a leading man. I'm not going to question, but not one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to put my finger on like what it is about Holden that I don't love. But I don't think he's as suave as David Silva is.
No, I agree with that. But I see him, like his, Sunset Boulevard character and then the complications of the romance, Sabrina. Mm-hmm. I think he could have very well pulled it off.
Sure. I mean, he's a fine actor.
Yeah. Another name, Kirk Douglas.
Kirk Douglas.
Who would be perfect. He'd probably play the wrestling parts too.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have.
I don't know how he'd fare during the musical numbers, but I think he would make a very convincing.
Yeah.
He
held
luchador.
his own in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with the little sea shanty that he had to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe that's not exactly the same caliber as the songs in this thing.
And Spartacus. And
did he sing in Spartacus?
I don't think he sung. No.
Okay.
But he, that's kind of a wrestling type.
Sure. Yeah. He was very active. Tons of westerns. And...
But I could see him strutting around wearing, without a shirt and wearing, the cape and the and the mask. Gregory Peck, Roman Holiday, Moby Dick, and of course To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah. I think that's my favorite so far.
I don't see how he could handle. I don't know if I'd buy him as the wrestling type character, but I really didn't buy Fernando. I didn't buy David Silva as the wrestler either. But as the movie went on, it worked for me. But haven't seen Gregory Peck and again Roman Holiday and To Kill a Mockingbird. Not so much. Moby Dick, How the West Was Won. I don't know, maybe. Probably the most far out idea I came up with was Glenn Ford. 310 from you to Yuma, The Big Heat, Blackboard Jungle. He's just the same age. I don't see him playing the Fernando Torres Hurricane Ramirez role at all.
Yeah. He's kind of in the same category as Holden for me. Maybe not quite handsome and suave enough.
But I think my favorite now, when I first told Michael about this movie, I said it was kind of, Frank Capra-esque. And Frank Capra directed an actor named Frank Sinatra, who was in From Here to Eternity, Guys and Dolls, High Society, and of course the original and only Ocean's 11.
Yeah. No, wait a minute. I have seen both versions of Ocean's 11, and I'm going to disagree with you there.
Okay, that aside. Frank Sinatra could do the singing part.
He sure could. He could
play. I would love to see him
do the scrappy, tough guy.
I would love to see him doing the banter with, the old girlfriend Gloria.
Yeah.
And he could play the tough guy when he had, goes up against those bad guys. I think
I can see him having the arguments with his dad.
Yes.
I could totally see that too. Yeah.
I think Frank Sinatra is my pick if this movie was made the same time in America.
Yeah.
With an American cast, not to take anything from the Mexican cinema, and like again, as I stated, I adore this movie. But Frank Sinatra playing a masked wrestler who sings at a nightclub at night, that just sings Frank Sinatra. I mean, if there's a way for it to be masked boxers, I'm sure it would have been. I'm sure it would have happened.
Yeah. I love that one. That's, as I was watching the movie, I kept just the look of David Silva, even like I'm looking at a picture of him right now.
The one you hung over your bed now?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, he's just like got this smoldering kind of stare. He looks like he's deep in thought, and he's like smoking a cigarette. He reminds me a lot of a young George Sanders, and George Sanders is about 10 years older than David Silva was, so like he wouldn't have worked for the time period, because about the time this movie came out, Sanders was in like All About Eve, so he was already kind of on the, you know, in the older part of his career. But they have a really similar look. But Sinatra, I think, is just like a perfect recast.
This is one movie I wouldn't, since we've recast it again, but we recast it with actors at the time, and we're not going to get into who we'd cast into it now. But this is one movie I would not mind seeing remade.
Yeah.
Just totally. To see how it's pulled off. And I think it could work very well. And
it would be like hard to do it today just because like the musical parts of it, like they just don't make these kinds of movies anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. But this, and again, of all the luchador movies I've seen now, they all have musical numbers, and this is the only one that makes sense having musical numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But you're absolutely right. It would not make sense. But then again, what was that? La La Land. That was a music. You know, what the hell?
Yeah.
Just do it.
True. It's not our money.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts do you have about this film that we didn't hit yet?
No, not really. Other than I really do enjoy it. Like it was super charming. And I'm totally with you on like the sequels. Like I'm quite excited to see the sequels, especially knowing that so much of the cast came back. I don't know. It's a really cool, fun corner of the luchador world. And, even though, I think like, again, what kind of kept me from just all out loving it was just like kind of some of the closed-mindedness about the dad and about, Hurricane himself, Fernando, and Fernando's two-time and, just like some of that, I was like, I just don't like those guys, completely. But, I certainly like them enough, and I love the characters around them. Like any time like the two sisters were on the screen and Peachy, like I was all in.
Did the oldest daughter or sister, Cata Torres, played by Annabelle Gutierrez?
Yeah.
Did she remind you of a kind of a young Judy Garland, Wizard of Oz type?
Boy, it was weird because when we first meet her, she's getting made up to go out, and she looks a little bit older than she is. And later on, it's much clearer that she's a high school student. And so I was picking up different vibes in the different points of the movie, but kind of once she got into high school mode, I don't know. She never reminded me of Judy Garland. I can kind of see what you're saying, but she reminded me of any number of kind of 50s high school, teen actors who, in I don't know, I'm trying to think, what was the name of the actor who played the older daughter in Father Knows Best? But just, kind of anything from like that time period, it's like, it's usually like an older teenage daughter who's interested in boys and stuff. And she fit that mold very, very easily.
Taking a quick look, it doesn't look like she comes back in any of the sequels though.
Okay.
Maybe she's played by different actors, but that actress does not reappear.
Yeah. Well, and if it's, 10 years later, then she's the character.
She's probably moved on. I wonder if Peachy shows up again, but.
Yeah.
All right, so I can't wait for when we get to the vengeance of Hurricane Ramirez, because apparently Hurricane is wrestling a masked, luchador, and tears off the mask to discover that he turned into a werewolf halfway through the bout.
Sweet.
Which sounds completely lame when you think of what this movie's like, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, here it comes. On a scale from 1 to 5 gold masks, what do you give Hurricane Ramirez?
I give it a 4. I give 4 masks.
Give it 4 masks. All right. I'm giving it 5. This is my this is the wrestling movie that I'm going to judge all others by, which is not fair because, like I said, zombie mummies, laser beam, mind control, little red glowing rings that control vampires type is not in this movie at all. But I'm excited and interested to find out there are other movies like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be interesting if we uncover any of those, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So hopefully again, you'll hear us again in about 2 weeks, and that movie will be, we're going back to El Santo.
Okay.
And it's Santo contra los Zombies.
Right.
Where a wrestling superhero Santo battles an evil scientist who has created a race of zombies.
Nice.
This is the movie. Though Santo had made a couple movies before this, this is the movie where he is the Batman-esque type superhero, where he's got the neat gadgets, and this is the one that started him on his legendary career as, the greatest of all luchadors in ring and cinema. So when you think of luchador movies, you tend to think El Santo, and this is the movie that says, yep, this is it. This is what's really started all. I mean, there were a couple movies before that where he really played a minor character where they don't even mention his name. This is where he is Santo. He plays Santo plays Santo, defending the world against, apparently, zombies.
All right. I only hope that they look as cool as the zombies in the last movie we watched.
Oh, you wait. I've seen... this is... The one thing I love about this movie that we're going to watch is there's a lot of Santo in his lair and a lot of the bad guy in his lair, and they're watching what's going on their own video screens, surrounded by the computers with all the levers and the spinning antennas and buttons glowing, and
beautiful.
This is going to be fun. So that's what we'll be doing next, Santo contra los Zombies, and this last film that we did today, which averages 4.5 gold masks between Michael and myself. Seek it out. If you can find it, seek it out. It's hard to find. I searched high and low for this. You can find it on YouTube. Turn on the subtitles, but those subtitles aren't going to work out for you very well. That's how I originally tried it. I found it another way. I bought this movie. I, had good subtitles to it. It's a great movie. If you speak Spanish, you're one of the lucky ones that can enjoy this movie. Unlike, Michael and myself, the Luchador Gringo el Mayo. But it is a great movie. It had, like I said, had everything from Speed Racer to Rocky to even a little bit of the Champ, I think.
Yeah, you talk about that final scene with him hugging his daughter. Yeah.
All right, Michael. Anything else before we sign off?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to Luchador Gringo el Mayo, a Lucha Libre Cinema Podcast, and we hope you give us a listen in about 2 weeks. Buenas noches.